Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to Broadcast to Post, KeyCode Media's series hosting industry professionals discussing broadcast, production, and post technology topics that you care about. Today's topic is going to be remote live streaming for production teams. I'm your host, Jeff Sangpil, the Chief Technologist here at KeyCode Media. We're going to have a full plate today featuring a chat with our guest speaker, Kathleen Byrne, who's the founder of Cabana 512 Productions, to talk about how her team of experienced television folks have been working to bring the Halloween experience of the Queen Mary's Haunted Harbor into a remotely produced event that should still be scaring the ship out of you, even when viewing from home. We'll also have our friends from NewTek, LiveU, and SNS joining us to demonstrate a better remote video workflow. First, we're going to be joined by SMPTE Fellow and board member and my very own colleague, KeyCode Media's Vice President of Broadcast Engineering, John Ferder. John's going to help us set the tone for today's episode. At the end, we're going to bring all of our guests from today back to answer your questions live. Please submit those questions at any time using the Vimeo, Facebook, or YouTube chats. Alrighty, let's get it started. Bring it on, John Ferder. John, how's it going in Denver?
Great. How are things in Burbank, Jeff?
Well, heat's coming up again, but that's fall in Los Angeles. John, I know with KeyCode being a nationwide systems integrator, your team's been helping a diverse base of customers work through their remote production challenges. I'm thinking of some major television competition, local government, talk shows, as well as local churches and schools. What are some of the different ways your team of broadcast engineers have been solving problems?
Well, that's true. We have seen a lot of demand for remote production, all the way from live broadcasts of talk shows, as you mentioned, to streaming of religious services and municipal government proceedings. So we've actually been working across the board with many customers. What we're really seeing is, especially at the church level and the municipal government level, smaller switcher solutions, many of them built on the NDI workflow, although some of them are quite comfortable with using SDI as the solution. They want to see remotely controlled pan tilt zoom cameras, and to a certain extent, some can afford some basic automation, but they're willing to have one overall technical person who runs the particular switcher, runs a particular audio board if it's separated. But again, we're also working with major production houses to do live TV shows. But again, they're exploring the NDI workflow because they're looking to exploit using either the internet or bonded cellular services to bring the hosts in from their own homes or locations where they feel safe. So again, we're looking at remotely controlled pan tilt zoom cameras and simple solutions that are simple to operate in a remote location.
Very cool. How do you see social distancing coming into play as far as the control room and production layouts? Have you seen any standards coming out of who gets to sit where, who needs to wear the mask and who doesn't? What have you been hearing and recommending to clients?
Well, most of what we've seen is that anyone who's in a control room situation has to be wearing a mask. That's usually that's either a requirement from a state government or a municipal government, or in the case of live talk shows, there are implications with the Screen Actors Guild or AFTRA, where people have to be wearing masks, people have to be tested if they're going to work with a host of a show or someone who's a member of that particular group. We're seeing that to go into, say, a host's home for these remote live talk shows, they need to be tested. These technicians need to be tested on a regular basis. They need to wear masks. And essentially, when they are done with checking the system in or doing the technical work they need to do, they're essentially sent outside to sit in their car. Inside the control room, what we're seeing is that there's not that crowded control room feel that you're used to seeing in a broadcast facility, but people are sitting 6 feet apart at least. And they're maintaining those distances and wearing masks. So in a control room where you used to perhaps have a front console and a rear console, you might actually have certainly 3, if not 4 consoles in a deeper room, just to be able to give everyone who needs to be working on the program in the control room a place to comfortably sit and work.
And it also lets the folks in the front row have that feeling at the back of their neck where there's someone behind them.
Yes, exactly.
So obviously getting the talent from their home into the broadcast has been very important. I know we have NewTek Live Connect helping connect video conference software to the switcher and LiveU's bonded cellular field units. How have you seen different productions using these technologies? What have been some of those real world challenges we've been able to solve for clients?
Well, we've seen the integration of Zoom using NewTek that has worked fairly well. The challenge we're getting from shows like that is the greater video quality. So they're looking to solutions in some cases, as you mentioned, the LiveU using bonded cellular, or other solutions that use either public internet or private internet. Where we're seeing challenges with those solutions, internet-based solutions do run into some latency issues, and depending on the nature of the connection between the remote location and the control room, you can go through multiple hops to get from one place to another, which adds to the latency of getting the source video into the control room and then having the host look at return video and seeing him, her, or themselves a little bit delayed, and that can be a little disconcerting. What we've also experienced with bonded cellular is really depending on where this particular person is, the cellular service might not be as robust as it could be in, say, the LA basin, and we're not getting the signal quality because the cellular quality isn't there.
So thanks, John. We're going to have you back for the live Q&A. If anyone's got questions for John about what KeyCode's been doing, please send them on over. Now we're going to be bringing on LiveU, NewTek, and SNS for back-to-back demonstrations featuring how their interconnected technology can be used together in a better remote video workflow. Let's start out in the field with LiveU, then in the studio with NewTek, and then a chat with SNS, as even live isn't simply one and done. Here's our friends at LiveU.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for attending today's session. My name is Scott Sheehan with LiveU, and I'm based in Colorado. I would like to first thank our partner from KeyCode Media for hosting our session today. KeyCode is one of our top authorized resellers for both the sale and rental of LiveU products. Today, I'm going to talk briefly about our company, our technology, and our products, including support for NDI, for a simple, seamless integration between LiveU products and some of the great products from our friends at NewTek and SNS. Once again, my name is Scott Sheehan with LiveU, and today we are talking about remote live streaming for production teams. I would like to thank again Key Code Media for hosting our event today. Thank you all. So who is LiveU? So in addition to what you are reading here about LiveU, we provide a complete IP-based live video solution from field acquisition units to cloud-based management, value-added services and content distribution, live streaming from any place, at any time, to anywhere. LiveU is the industry leader with over 60% market share for the bonded cellular technology industry. Over 7,000 units globally, and some of those 3,500 end user customers includes a long list of brands, a long list of companies covering all market segments from news, sports, enterprise, production, media, education, and really anybody looking to solve some of their live production initiatives. A little bit about the LiveU technology, our patented bonded cellular technology. LiveU Reliable Transport, or LRT for short, is the foundation for what has become IP-based video transmission. No more satellite. This system now includes internet, Wi-Fi, and of course, bonded cellular technology. 4G today and 5G coming right around the corner. The workflow begins with our family of encoders. Then it travels via LRT transmission over IP, including bonded cellular, and lands on our family of decoders, and then into your studio or production environment that often includes NDI connection with the NewTek switchers and the SNS storage, but it might also be through SDI or an RTMP feed to an online CDN. LiveU has the most complete set of products, which is one of the things that makes us the leader in the industry. The left side of this slide shows our family of encoders with the backpack field units in the upper left, rack mount encoders for fixed facility or vehicle installations in the lower left. Products like LiveU Solo for prosumer and independent videographers to produce online video. Products for production teams, news, sports, and corporation organizations using our LU300, LU600, and the latest LU800. The LU800 is truly revolutionary for remote live production, having support for 5G, HD HDR, 4K, and the ability to take in up to 4 camera feeds, same box. These products support two-way communications via IFB from your studio and back to one of the field units or multiple field units. The LU800 and the LU600 also support video return. These features, in addition to Tally and our latest innovation we call IP Pipe for remote camera control, combine to give you full control over the field units as if they were connected in the studio. Our decoders, lower right, include a family of physical servers supporting HD and 4K video with NDI, SDI, and RTMP outputs. Some of our customers prefer a cloud server for when RTMP is the only output required. One of our most popular products of late is LU Smart, upper right, a very simple, easy to use mobile application that turns any iOS or Android device into a live video feed going back to your production room, back into an LU2000 or LU4000, thus expanding your ability to bring anyone from anywhere with an iOS device into a live production. The NFL Draft is a great example with Roger Goodell in his home with a high-end camera, LU600, IFB, video return, effectively a remote studio. The GMs and the players, however, were being brought in on the LU Smart from their own mobile devices. Wireless at-home remote production. So everything we've talked about up to this point, the LiveU family of products and services is what enables a wireless at-home production. You choose your LiveU field unit or units for capturing and encoding in the field. You add a data plan for cellular transport. Choose your LiveU server for decode in the studio. Keep your NewTek, your SNS, your video replay, our graphics, full complement of production equipment, all stays in the studio or the control room. Send out only to camera persons in a LiveU backpack. Send guest interviews using the LiveU Smart app. All your feeds are coming back to you. They're coming back to you with a very low delay down to 800 milliseconds. They're coming back to you in sync using LiveU's patented precision timing, and provides for an NDI workflow, SDI, or RTMP. Now with that, I'd like to introduce you via a pre-recorded video to my colleague Janelle Fleming, who will tell you more about remote production in a number of different applications.
LiveU provides the best quality live video coverage for sporting events for broadcast, online, and social media. Our portfolio of hardware-based HEVC transmission solutions enables broadcasters, production companies, and sports organizations to transmit and produce compelling live content. LiveU has been the pioneer in what some refer to as REMI, or at-home production. This evolutionary approach to production has dramatically increased the number of live sporting events produced today. But what is at-home production? Why is it enabling some of the most unique sports in some of the most remote areas to be broadcast live? Simply put, rather than sending a full production truck and crew to every event, broadcasters can simply send cameras and LiveU encoders to site and backhaul those individual video sources to an off-site production facility and control room. From there, the full production can be done from the centralized location. This workflow and its benefits are immense. It optimizes resources to produce more events, not relying on wheels and travel to produce. It keeps the wear and tear on your most expensive hardware low. With today's COVID-19 protocols, having reduced people on site and reducing travel needs is a critical advantage of LiveU's at-home production solution. Additionally, with today's budget limitations, innovating how we produce content is more important than ever. LiveU's technology is unique in its approach to at-home production. With our precision timing technology and bonded network connectivity, customers can produce multi-camera live sporting events using wireless or wired technology. Whether it's a golf tournament, a high-revving motorsport series, a baseball game, or even something as unique as polo, LiveU has been there and can provide the right solution. That said, the launch of our breakthrough LU800 is very timely in regards to remote production and sports in particular. It combines multi-camera production and superior video and audio capabilities with mission-critical transmission over 4G and, for the first time ever, native 5G networks. The LU800 offers up to 4 1080p 60 fully frame-synced feeds from a single portable unit using IP bonding of up to 14 connections. IP Pipe is our next-level remote production feature, giving you a layer 2 connection between your encoder and receiver. This could allow you remote control over a wide range of network-based equipment, such as PTZ cameras, camera control units, or to send ancillary data back to the control room. We also offer a rich set of production tools for smooth communication between on-site crews and remote production teams, including video return, tally lights, and audio connect. Live feeds can also be shared to a larger audience as part of an end-to-end content workflow. The LiveU Matrix cloud-based content management and distribution platform provides a new way to share and distribute broadcast quality live video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. We here at LiveU look forward to the full return of sports and a better future for us all.
Hey everybody, Chris Burgos of NewTek here. Today we're going to be going over remote live streaming for production teams and showcasing a little bit of the TriCaster 2 Elite. In a few moments we're going to be joined by Richard Evans. He's going to give you an in-depth walkthrough on Live Call Connect and some of the features in the TC2. But what I want you to do is after that video, if you have any questions, stick around because we're going to be doing some live Q&A and we'll do a brief overview of some of the feature sets we talked about. Thanks for joining us in this video today.
Today I'm going to be showing you a feature that a lot of people are excited about that comes with the new TriCaster 2 Elite, and that is called Live Call Connect. Live Call Connect is a way for you to bring in multiple callers from all sorts of video conferencing applications like, for example, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Slack, Tencent, Discord, and many more. And then bring them into the TriCaster where you can manage them like you would a camera source physically plugged into your system. Similar to how Skype integration for previous TriCasters work, it will also automatically manage the audio to and from your callers with a built-in audio mix-minus. You can also use Live Call Connect to bring up web pages to showcase in your production or for monitoring sites. But enough talking, let's get a rockin'. Okie dokie, so here we are in the TriCaster to Elite interface. And this is where we're going to go to, switch our show, etc. But then I also have a second monitor plugged in that I have configured as my multi-viewer, which typically is used for monitoring our program, previews, different inputs, media players, scopes, etc. But what I want to do is I'm going to change this screen into our app desktop so that we can have access to our apps that are compatible with Live Call Connect. So to do that, we'll go to the top of the screen on our interface under Workspaces and under Multi-Viewer 2. We'll open up Load Default, and these are all the different configurations that I can choose on the multi-viewer, but I'm going to select the very bottom one, which is App Desktop. Brand new feature here, and this allows you to basically start to go through and use different applications within the TriCaster. So only a few compatible ones here. So one of them, for example, will be Microsoft Edge, so you can open up a web browser, check NewTek.com for all the latest and greatest information from NewTek, yeah. Or you can also monitor your stream, for example, and then also check your email and Facebook, etc. Blah, blah. Okay, now you'll also see at the bottom of the page here that I also have a few apps installed. I have Skype TX and Zoom, but you can also use Tencent, Discord, Slack, and Microsoft Teams. And then start to bring those into your broadcast via Live Call Connect. Now I'm going to keep this very, very simple today, and I'm just going to use Zoom. Right? And I am going to start up a meeting. Now I'm going to fast forward this part so that I can invite a couple of callers in here. All right, so now we have our callers coming into our Zoom meeting. So let's click on View here and admit all of them. And let's go ahead and collapse this menu on the side. We don't need that anymore. And now we have our simple Zoom call with our 3 different callers in here. So I have my caller number 1, also caller number 2, and then I also have my TriCaster coming through as the return signal over to our Zoom callers. So this is going to be what our Zoom callers are going to see on their end. Now that's always going to be the program output of the TriCaster, so keep that in mind. So now what we want to do is configure this application to then send our Zoom callers to different inputs on the TriCaster. And to do that, we'll go to the top of our Zoom call, and then you'll see here that I have a new little gray box here, which is going to be for doing exactly that. So let's click on this gear configuration icon here and select Assign Callers to Inputs. And then after that, we will click Go to, or just, we'll click Live. Now, when we do that, I want you to take notice of my cursor here. That is now turned into a circle, which means I can now do nothing to this particular Zoom call. So I am locked in here. And so the preferred workflow when setting this up with Live Call Connect is to do set up all your calls first, and that way you lock them in place and you are good to go. Now let's take a look back over onto the TriCaster TC2 Elite interface, and now check it out. Now I have inputs coming in on input 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm going to make a few adjustments here because I don't have a caller number 12. Let's go ahead and set that to black. And then also you'll see input number 10, that is the return feed that was coming to my Zoom caller. So let's go, from the TriCaster to the Zoom caller. So let's go ahead and set that to black as well. But the nice thing about that was it went ahead and just automatically brought in these inputs. So what's cool about this is you can now treat these like regular camera sources and use them however you want. And then I can also embed them into virtual sets. So for example, if I turn on their keyers here, Command Ultra. There we go. That. And now I have these Zoom calls embedded into some different virtual sets. For example, on my Mix Effect number 1 and Mix Effect number 2, which is pretty dang cool. So now I can use these as I normally would just any other video source. Now I did want to mention as far as audio is concerned, let's go down here. So your audio is going to be coming through on input number 16 where it says apps, and if we open up that configuration, you'll see that I have 8 different channels to work with here on this system. You also have access to the processing tab for EQing, compressing, etc., and also using the routing table so that you can route your different audio sources around. So, Live Call Connect, a great way to bring in remote guests from all over the world, no matter what their favorite video conferencing application they prefer. Now, this is a game changer and one of the many awesome features that comes exclusively with the TriCaster 2 Elite.
Thank you so much, Richard, for all the help. That was a great tutorial on Live Call Connect. And before we hand over the range to Keycode Media, I just wanted to go over some simple information, just an overview of what's really going on in the TriCaster 2 Elite. And so here we see that the TriCaster 2 Elite has quite a lot of video capacity. It has a lot of outputs it can handle. It has a wealth of inputs it can handle. It can do a lot of mixes. It can do cross points. It is a very flexible system. It's compatible with NDI, SRT, RTMP, RTP, HTTP, and SRC. There's a lot of different ways you can get IP video into your NewTek TriCaster, as well as enhancing that video with video playback channels, graphics, teleprompting, and just being able to route that video how you like to. And we really hammered in home on Live Call Connect. Just some notes for everybody at home. It maxes out at 9 callers. It is very easy to assign as inputs. Using the built-in functions, it'll start at input 9, but you can always reroute those inside the TriCaster themselves. It works with a lot of different applications, and that list is constantly growing. So stay tuned if the current application you want isn't supported, but currently there's quite a swath of things like Zoom and Teams, all out there ready for you in Live Call Connect. And finally, it's just so simple. It's pre-designed to work with your mix output, your program out, and your mix minus audio. It really is the total package when we think of a live production suite.
And thanks to the team at Keycode Media for having us here today. I'm Steve McKenna from Studio Network Solutions, or SNS as you may have heard of us. You may be familiar with our high-performance shared workflow server, Evo, but did you know we also have a product custom-built for NDI-enabled workflows? We partnered with NewTek to create the NewTek Remote Server, or NRS. The NRS is the only NDI-enabled shared workflow server and still comes with all of the great software features of the SNS Evo, including unlimited license MAM, automation, transcoding, and more. Built for live media production teams, NRS enables a simplified broadcast and live streaming workflow from capture to delivery. It's a perfect complement to your NewTek and LiveU environment for live sports, news, broadcasting, church, live streaming, conferences, events, and more. The NRS is available in 3 form factors: the uber portable NRSD, a short depth NRS 8-bay, and the high capacity NRS 16 to fit any production need. Based on the NRS you choose, you can connect up to 28 NDI-enabled sources directly to the NewTek Remote Server, including your TriCaster TC2, 3Play, Viz Trio, and NDI-enabled cameras, all of which can record straight to your remote server, and you can use the built-in virtual switch to protect streaming throughput. I know you're probably asking, if I can connect up to 28 devices, how many streams can I actually record? Well, here's the answer. The NRS 16 can record 30 NDI streams at full 4K resolution at 30 frames per second. And all your NDI-enabled devices, switcher, cameras, whatever, can be leveraged to create real-time backups of an event in progress. The primary advantage to a shared workflow is minimizing turnaround times and eliminating wasted hours redundantly copying media from a capture station or recorder into a shared location or across multiple workstations. A great way to eliminate this unnecessary step is to leverage growing file support in your production application. Growing files allow you to cut and edit while still recording. The NRS can be used in a variety of environments that use growing file editorial for fast turnarounds of complex packages, like houses of worship, sports, replays, concert highlights, and so on. Shared workflows can massively improve live event production by providing a seamless link between creative work groups and editorial, graphics, and production. Once media hits the NRS, it becomes immediately available to producers, editors, and graphic artists to access, share, and view from anywhere. Coupled with NDI tools like Scan Converter, not only can you record camera ISOs and program feeds from multiple production switchers or replay machines, you can even record the multi-viewer as an additional ISO, allowing the post-production team a real-time look into the live event, making it easier than ever to make quick adjustments. If this was all the NRS did, that would be a lot. But production is so much more than just recording and editing files without needing to copy. We have to organize, repurpose, transcode, deliver, prep, and find again later, and now even edit off-site. The NRS can help you accomplish all of these tasks from anywhere with its powerful software suite. You can search, tag, comment, preview, and add custom metadata to your media via the included Share browser. The powerful and easy-to-use asset management software included free and unlimited fashion with every NRS system. Share browser can also add value to any existing storage on your network by providing a shared database of all assets on the network itself, including your local drives, on your workstation, or even on multiple TriCasters. And you don't have to be in the studio to access Share browser. You can connect to the NRS with a VPN and do everything you can in the studio from home, on set, or anywhere else. Share browser works with all major NLEs like Avid, DaVinci Resolve, Adobe, and Final Cut, with integrated panel extensions in Premiere, After Effects, and Final Cut Pro 10. Slingshot is another fantastic tool that comes free with the NRS. It's a robust API and automation task builder so you can schedule automatic backups, file transfers, transcoding, and more. It's a huge time saver for our customers. For remote live production specifically, if you record internally to your switcher, Slingshot can grab a file from a watch folder and push it out to a remote editor, alerting them via email that files are ready to be worked on. For the fun wrinkle of 2020, with live production and post-production now working remote so that we can stay socially distanced, NRS has tools to help with that as well. We include Nomad, a remote editing utility to help teams access, organize, collaborate, and edit their media from anywhere in the world. Built-in transcoding allows us to save time by prepping multiple deliverable formats from a single master file. Let the NRS work while you enjoy some well-deserved rest. Simply render a file, and all your other deliverables will be ready for you when you wake up in the morning. To recap, with NRS, NewTek gives you everything you need for a high-quality, live remote production now and in the future. NDI-enabled workflow tools, unlimited MAM, automations, transcoding, backup, and delivery, all in a single, easy-to-use remote server. Thanks so much for tuning in today, and another thanks to Jeff and the team at KeyCode Media for having us. If you have any questions about NRS or remote servers with NDI, go ahead and ask your questions now, and I look forward to answering them at the end of the presentation with the rest of the panel. Thanks again, Jeff. Back to you.
Thanks, everyone. The team will be joining us later at the end of the live Q&A. Please submit any questions via Facebook or YouTube chat or on our Vimeo page. Now, let's talk with someone who's making live events happen this month, Kathleen Byrne, the CEO of Cabana 512 Productions. Kathleen Byrne is the founder, CEO of Cabana 512 Productions, a Los Angeles-based television production company specializing in nonfiction television, digital media, and branded entertainment. She is a 20-year veteran in the television industry and one of the most respected in the field. During the pandemic, Kathleen has been working alongside industry-leading production teams to come up with engaging live content that provides audiences a thrill while also keeping the production team safe. Her latest project will provide audiences a spooky live Halloween event from the haunted Queen Mary, including live music performances and a virtual tour of some of the most haunted areas of the ship, which I've seen in real life. After the interview, we're going to be back live with Kathleen and our whole panel to answer all of your questions. Please submit them.
The producers of the Ghost Hunters franchise, UFO Hunters, Ghost Mine, Mountain Monsters, and so much more, would like to welcome you to a new paranormal destination. Step right up and enter the Dark Zone, a new immersive digital paranormal community for anyone who's intrigued and fascinated by what lurks in the darkness of the unknown. With our latest endeavor, the Dark Zone has proven a new model for hybrid programming that blends the popularity of paranormal television with the accessibility fans get in conventions. With The House Live, the Dark Zone has created a worldwide interactive experience never before attempted. This 24/7 week-long live stream event took place at the real-life Conjuring House and was viewed by fans in the US and over a dozen other countries. The Dark Zone has taken the passive medium of television and infused it with interactivity, creating a totally immersive audience experience. Viewers had 24/7 live streaming access to the isolated camera feeds in the house to become remote ghost hunters, reporting paranormal sightings as they occurred. This revolutionary, groundbreaking format sets the standard for the future of streaming entertainment. And the fans want more. Then, we spent 4 days live inside the Lizzie Borden murder house. Now, for this Halloween, the Dark Zone will give you live streaming 24-hour around-the-clock virtual access to one of the most haunted locations on Earth. The Queen Mary. This Halloween, the Dark Zone brings you a 4-day live streaming paranormal event as Aidan Sinclair and all of your favorite paranormal researchers bring you The Queen Mary live.
Hey, Kathleen, thanks for joining us. Trick-or-treating might be canceled this year, but I hear your production team is finding new ways to keep the Halloween spirit alive with a live stream event from the Queen Mary. Having myself attended live Halloween events at the Queen Mary in the past, can you give us a general idea what this event's going to be about?
Sure. Yes, this is going to be amazing. So we partnered with the Dark Zone Network, which is the first OTT platform dedicated to the paranormal. Right after quarantine hit, we produced a live interactive streaming show from the real life Conjuring House. Now, everybody is frustrated being quarantined with barking dogs and screaming kids. Can you imagine being quarantined in like the most haunted house in the world? So it was all produced remotely. It was a big success. It went very well. And then we produced another event at the Lizzie Borden murder house. And now we have unprecedented access to the most haunted ship in the world, the Queen Mary. So that's very exciting. We have the entire ship to ourselves. We're the only ones on board. Well, except the ghosts. And we are streaming for 4 days live from October 29th to November 1st. And the show will feature in-depth paranormal investigations in all of the haunted locations throughout the ship, and also remote interviews with numerous paranormal talent. And this is our unique format. We provide camera ISOs in the most haunted rooms in the ship that stream for 24 hours straight. So viewers are used to seeing edited shows. Like we as producers, we normally show the viewer what we want them to see. But with this format, it's unique. It's something it can't be done on traditional television. So we provide 8 streaming channels. And so the viewers can switch between the main produced show and then the stationary camera ISOs. And that enables the viewer to be what we call them remote ghost hunters. So they're watching the feeds and they're looking for ghosts, and then they report back to and they interact with the paranormal investigators who are on the site. So there's a chat room, and then they're able to go to this room, and I saw this, and so it's a very interactive community. And then on top of that, because it's Halloween, and it's of course favorite holiday of the year for all paranormal fans, to celebrate Halloween and Day of the Dead, we are kicking it up a notch, and we are doing virtual costume contests with prizes. And we're also providing a virtual music festival with performances by, so we have Bisto Blanco, Filter, Dead Sarah, Metalachi, Sound Barrier. We've got like 8 or 10 bands that are playing. And our motto on this one is Halloween is not canceled on our watch. So it's going to be fun.
It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So with all the mandatory 6-foot distances and mask requirements that are in place, it's been kind of hard for production to engage the way that people used to do on set. How's your team working to make the set safe for crew and stick within the guidelines?
Well, our first 2 live productions were done completely remotely. The producing team all work from home. I mean, I literally haven't seen any of them since February. And we were able to work out the tech part by shipping a very small package to the field. And the paranormal investigator who was on site is very tech savvy and was able to set up the gear that fed to our control room. It was back in Los Angeles, and there was only 2 people in the control room running it. But for the Queen Mary, we are all going to be together on the ship. And we've hired a COVID compliance company to make sure everybody's safe. Anyone who enters the ship is going to be tested daily. The ship is cleaned daily, and masks and social distancing protocols, the whole 9 yards, are all being met. So it's very important to us to keep everybody safe.
Awesome. So let's get into the tech and the things you've run into on set. You are obviously producing a large event, which takes place on a massive boat. What types of technical challenges did your team have to think about during the prep? What solutions did they come up with?
Well, our biggest challenge of the Queen Mary, challenges I should say, are size of the ship and a lot of steel. So the ship is as long as the Empire State Building is high. I mean, it is massive. And we're setting these camera ISOs all over the ship, and as well as investigating in numerous locations on the ship, all over, like, deep into the ship, to the bowels of the ship also. So some of our solutions, like we're bringing in our own fiber so that we have dedicated high-speed internet. We're setting up the control room in the center of the ship, in the grand salon, and then running fiber cables to all of the camera ISO locations, so that, and those are spread all throughout the ship. We're at the pool, B340, which is the most haunted room in the ship, the children's playroom, the Queen's salon, the Winston room, the boiler room. So it's all over the ship. And then there's also 2 investigative teams that will be in numerous locations. Those are requiring handheld cameras. And those feeds are coming back to the control room via LiveU, which I'm a big fan of. And we recently did a tech scout on the ship using an LiVU-300 to test the data. And I have to say, we had coverage in almost every part of the ship with the LiveU. So it was very impressive.
Oh, great. And it sounds like that was one of the reasons why you chose LiveU for the remote acquisition. How easy was it to set up?
It was really easy to set up. I mean, I've been a big fan of LiveU for a while. I started my career in live news and sports, but we're used to rolling up to location with like a big truck. And now with like the new workflow, we're all trying to figure that out, and how to, to get the signal back to home base, if you will, for a live show. And then our programming is haunted locations, which is, you don't know what type of internet connection you're going to have. You've got unreliable internet, and you don't know what you're walking into. So because of all that, like LiveU is really the perfect solution for us. The cellular bonding really provides a reliable signal, and it's a gorgeous signal. I mean, we stream our show in 1080p, and the picture quality coming from the LiveU from the location is really gorgeous. And it's very easy to set up. Again, we were able to hand LiVU-300s to a tech, to really just not somebody who's proficient in television, but just who's a little tech savvy, and they were able to hook it up and operate it very easily.
Excellent. Yeah, I can understand with all that steel, Wi-Fi isn't really an option at that point. So let's get into the TriCaster setup. Can you walk me through the workflow from the cameras and audio that are stationed around the boat connected to master control? What did that look like? And you've already spoken about the connectivity being fiber for such a large space.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So the camera ISOs are hardwired, and that goes into a Blackmagic router, and that connects them to the KiloView encoders. Those stream an RTMP directly to our CDN for the various ISO channels, and then those cameras will have parabolic mics on them attached, so we can pick up when the spirits are talking to us. And the ISOs are also routed into the TriCaster so that we can use those the ISOs as sources within the show, and then also routed to the EVS for playback. We're recording what happens with the ISO so that if there's any activity that's captured, that we can play that back, and that's integrated within the body of the show. We'll have 4 LU300s that are part of the 2 investigative teams, and that comes in through the LU2000. And those are for our handheld cameras that comes in the TriCaster. And also, we're going to use the LU Smart, which I like this. It's, you can use your iPhone and just download the LU Smart on your phone, because a lot of the paranormal investigators like investigate. It's like an investigator's POV, and it's just another creative tool. It's another added bonus to how we're doing this. And then also, because we have remote guests for interview sessions, we're utilizing the integrated Skype TX, which I just love. I mean, it's automatic mix minus. It's fantastic. So, and it's just a godsend when you're bringing in multiple guests, one right after the other, and you've got a really small team. For this show, we've added talk show, the 4000, so we get the 4 more channels of Skype TX, because we're going to do a few panels that are like 6 people analyzing the footage and talking back and forth. And then the last part is we're also, because the virtual costume contest, we're doing a Zoom for that, and those will come in from using NDI.
Awesome. Sounds like you have all those bases covered. Let's get into the team. What are the types of roles you're hiring for or have already hired for this gig?
It's your traditional television team, and it's a lot of the folks I've worked with for years. I mean, it's the shooters have all done paranormal shows, so they're used to this kind of show. The founder of the Dark Zone, Jay Blumke, he and I have been working together off and on since 1996. I mean, we go way back. There's a lot, producers on the team I've known for many years. So the crew itself, is traditional television crew, but they have the IP workflow knowledge. So, you have to find a TriCaster TV versus, a Grass Valley TV. So I think, and then the big difference is the streaming engineer. So you really need to have a solid data person who can get, not only it's the feed into the control room, and also it's the feed out. It's the ISO cameras, and it's the mainstream. That's your bread and butter. And so making sure that person is on top of it. And we have a wonderful platform that we're working with called Indavo. They're based out of Atlanta, and their streaming capabilities are fantastic. We've had so much success with them. They're able to handle our 1080p of 8 channels without any problem. So also Spanish subtitles and numerous interactivity on the platform. So they've been really great partners.
Very cool. So other than the streaming engineer, which for any sort of streaming show you'd have to bring on as a role, are there any other new roles you had to bring, basically add to the team to pull off a production like this in the time of COVID?
I would say it's more about the different workflow. It is a brand new workflow for those of us who are old school TV people. So I now know SRT and RTMP and all kinds of letters that meant nothing to me 9 months ago. And these are things that the transition from standard broadcast television to streaming, it's just a new workflow, and there's a lot of great technology, but it has been a learning experience for all of us. And it's been fun. It really has. I always say that, this is what happens when producers get bored. You get innovative and you come up with new ways to tell your stories. So it really has been just what technology we use and how we use it. But as far as different roles, it's really just finding the right people who have expertise with that workflow.
Exactly. And the live feed, there's no fixing that in post.
No.
Thanks for joining us. And
Sure.
We'll see you live during the Q&A, and we'll be right back with that.
Great.
Folks, we're going to be getting right to your Q&A. So if you've got questions, please feed them into the various chats. First question that came up, Frank Bella. He's interested in specifically what I need at my studio end to receive LiveU remote transmissions.
So with the LiveU, you would use a 1U rack mount server. We call an LU2000. If you're running 4K, you would use an LU4000. So it's a rack mount server connected into your network and basically tied into the same IP address that's coming in from the field units.
There was a follow-up from Frank as well. Does LiveU offer a complete demo bundle for production house trails?
So yeah, actually through Key Code Media, as one of our top authorized resellers, they have a whole plethora, a fancy word there, of demo equipment that they can make available to you. And we augment them with anything that you might need in addition to.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Quick question here for Kathleen, which is very important. Are the ghosts hard to work with, and are they union or non-union?
That's a good question. First of all, they are non-union. They are very difficult to work with because the Spirit drains the battery. And so what we had on our last event, and Scott, I think I told you about this, is we had a fully charged LU300 and various walkies and everything else. And in a matter of now that normally goes 2 to 3 hours in battery, usage, and it was drained in 20 minutes. So we have a lot of difficulties with batteries. And also in our last event, Andrea Perrin, when we did the Conjuring House, Andrea Perrin, who was the survivor of the Conjuring House, anytime she was on camera, we had major camera difficulties. Our entire feed went down one time. So they definitely interfere.
We did submit a software upgrade request for that, Kathleen.
Exactly.
I'm not sure exactly what kind of software you could upgrade to fix that.
I don't know. We need a ghost protection software development team.
Paranormal shielding.
Another question for Kathleen. We're assuming you're filming a lot of dark shots.
Mm-hmm.
What cameras or techniques are you using to capture low light?
So there are a variety of specialty cameras that we use, especially for the Queen Mary, where we're going to be mounting cameras all over the ship. We use specialty IR cameras. We have a FLIR thermal camera, which really shows the heat, and it's an IR camera as well. There's an SLS camera, and then for the investigations, there's handheld camera operators that are going around, and we use, there's a variety of cameras that have IR capabilities, but like the XA11, you can manually flip the Canon, you can manually flip to IR. So as you get into the low light situation, you want to be in an IR setting. And then we're also using a Panasonic PTZ camera that has NDI, but it also has, IR capabilities because we're mounting a camera in the pool. So that'll be fun.
Very cool. Question for Bradley Harris, and this is for our friends at NewTek. Have you seen NDI work well over the public internet? What setups have you seen work best? VPN?
NDI has worked pretty well over the public internet. Again, it's a question, it's a question of your service. We're finding that we get, obviously much better results if the production facility you're working in has 10 gig backbone or higher. The important thing is to make sure that your NDI is either within its own VPN or within a separate physical switch or network, so you minimize any kind of collisions or or any kind of contention with any of your other networks or workflows.
That's a place where I'd like to jump in real quick, Jeff, too, because the VPN obviously helps you minimize variables, across the wide area network, certainly. But here at SNS, we've actually created a cloud-based VPN service that's available through Keycode, but ties into the NewTek remote server I was discussing earlier. So the NRS would actually be a direct client of a cloud-hosted VPN, so you can establish that more secure, less variable tunnel, really from anywhere, on that side, and it's very affordable.
Awesome. So a question there for Chris is Live Call Connect using SRT technology?
No, Live Call Connect is not using SRT technology. SRT is part of the TriCaster 2 Elite rollout, and it is rolling out in capacity to 4K minis and TC1s with contemporary updates. But it is not an SRT-based system. It is actually just using the native application. So you're actually having Zoom or Teams or what have you, Discord, on the actual machine, and then we're sort of doing the Live Call Connect wizardry from that point forward. But you can interact with SRT either as a stream or as an input in conjunction with your Live Call Connect callers.
So sort of a follow-up there from from Art. How do you handle mix minus with Zoom, Skype, etc.? What's the wizard?
Sure. So the Live Call Connect is going to give you a custom mix minus feed going back to it that just doesn't have the application. So everyone in the given call application is fine. They can talk to each other, and they'll be interacting with whatever elements you introduce. On the Skype TX side, depending on your workflow, the 2 Skype TX channels that come within a given system, those are pre-mix minus. And then if you're using something like the talk show platform, you would create a mix minus per channel. Interestingly enough, with something like the TC2, the number of audio workflows it has makes this fairly trivial. So you can actually just send them one single aux back to an entire group of talk shows and have them all on just that one aux. You don't have to create a custom aux mix for each person. And so there are a lot of opportunities to intermix that. So that's for your Teams and Skype workflows. You can go that pathway. Live Call Connect is a pre-mix minus, and the Skype TX channels on the TC2 Elite are also pre-mix minus.
Very cool. So on the subject of TriCaster, Steve, do I need a TriCaster to use NRS?
You do not. It's just going to record using its own processors any NDI signals on your network. So, well, you can, directly connect up to 28 cameras, as I said earlier. If you've got a LiveU on the other side of that, it's however many the server can get, and that'll, depend on obviously the frame rate, the frame size, all those different things. And you can actually stack these servers together to increase them. So the server can become kind of an encoder. It can be used to get a safety stream, going where I'm recording both internally to the TriCaster as well as to the NRS simultaneously. So we don't have to wait for a file to finish writing to then be able to copy it to another location. We can do just both simultaneously over the IP network. And actually, Jeff, we had been chatting too, and I was kind of working with our production team, and they loved your idea of the recording the multi-viewer to get a better look into there. So, we threw that into the presentation as well. So now post actually see what's going on in the truck without having to go ask somebody on that side.
Yeah,
but no, you absolutely do not need a TriCaster.
We were talking earlier about what Steve was just talking about, and the fact that with a LiveU, you've got a live and store mode, which you can be going live and also recording, locally to your LU600 or LU800, and then transfer that file later. Now, if you've got an SNS on the other end, and you're coming into the LiveU LU2000 and coming out of that into your TriCaster simultaneously, you could be hitting the SNS storage and be recording in real time back at your studio. So you don't then have to wait for the file to get back to you. So it's the NDI makes it really cool to be able to take that stream to both devices at the same time.
Very cool. So question to NewTek on Zoom integration. The Zoom Room offering from Zoom delivers much higher quality Zoom connection than regular Zoom. Does the NewTek integration work with the Zoom Room option?
I think that's a fairly new installment, and I don't think we're there yet. I don't know the potential for it to be integrated. As it stands today, it's just traditional Zoom stuff. That said, work with the guys at Keycode, take the challenge on what we've been able to do with Live Call Connect, because it's more than just doing a zoom in on the individual inputs in the screen. There's some fun stuff that's happening behind the scenes of Live Call Connect. So paired with a 4K monitor, you're going to get some pretty nice
images going through from your switch perspective, from your video switching perspective. But the future is bright. Since Live Call Connect dropped, we've already added a platform that we now support to it. So it's not this isn't a static environment. It never is in the NewTek world. We're always adapting, evolving, and making more features. So what I would say is, if this is a big prominent piece that's hitting the mainstay, send that feedback our way, and we'll keep looking towards the future for more adaptations on Live Call Connect and everything else we do.
So a follow-up from Coleman on that, on the Live Connect, is why is there a limit of 9 callers?
I would say it's probably the initial design in Genesis. We're trying to hit the most different applications. And so different applications handle these things differently. We take a very wide approach to this, but I don't have the specifics as to why it's 9 today. However, I think that's going to work with every application we support, versus setting some higher number is maybe not going to be too flexible right now. And again, as these things develop and grow, there's room for it. This is today. Live Call Connect is 9 today.
And it's better than 7. I mean, just saying.
That Brady Bunch effect is what we see, for instance, on our side of the room right here. I'm looking at 7 viewers, 7 guests on the panelist side, and it's already sort of a natural Brady Bunch. 2 more people could come, and that's a 9-person call. It's a 9-person call on Discord. It's a 9-person call on Teams. And now some of those platforms have pushed forward, but sort of trying to get that general locked-in approach. This isn't Live Call Connect for Zoom. This is Live Call Connect for as many devices and operations we can work with.
Perfect. And from my viewpoint here, Steve gets to be Alice.
I'm in the middle, so I didn't do this.
In the middle.
Saying.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, from a production standpoint, the Skype TX and the automatic mix minus is just, it's like a godsend. And it just, using it in the practical sense, it's just like how it comes in so clean, and it's easy. And when you're doing guest after guest after guest, it's just, it's so efficient. I'm a big fan. It's really great.
Thank you, Kathleen. That, I think in our perspective is the way broadcast and traditional TV people are far happier when we're leveraging the Skype TX platform. It's everything you really want out of those platforms. You're getting that better bandwidth, you're getting that better resolution, and you're not beholden to like what the given application's doing. You kind of get the best case of what you can pull from remote, and that is Skype and Teams today. So there's opportunity there to leverage that stuff. But for the Live Call Connect, I always look at being a long-term, just being around NewTek technology. The future is always bright for us to do more with it. Today, we've already set the bar pretty high, working with all this stuff, and now we can just say, we'll just keep pushing for more. So we'll take that feedback in.
And it is TV intuitive. I mean, it's like, I looked at Wirecast and looked at vMix, and it's like, but it's TV. So it's, mixed effects bags and downstream keyers. And I'm like, oh my God, now you're using my terminology instead of like freaking overlays or whatever. But it also gives you the freedom that you're using your graphics. You can, customize all your, picture-in-picture size. And you're not just taking what they give you. So it gives us the ability to be creative. So thank you.
Appreciate that.
On the ease of use, Johnny is asking, are there tutorials available for mix minus on the TC2 Elite?
Yeah, so this is slick. You don't even have to do anything for the mix minus. And whenever you open any application that is Live Call Connect enabled, the little question mark button in the UI will give you a specific tutorial for that application. So built into the UI, you don't have to go to a separate YouTube video. If it's Zoom, if it's Teams, what have you. And recognizing that those applications kind of have their own quirks. Teams does this really cool thing where if you have like 3 people, depending on how they joined, somebody will look like a column and the other 2 will look like traditional video aspect ratios. Well, in the TC2, we don't care about traditional video. We'll work with anything. And so if you enable Live Call Connect, it'll give you that column video because it wants to do phone videos and all kinds of stuff. But if you wanted to then take a step further and say, I want everyone to look 16:9, well, on the team side, you would then go and say, hey, fit all these guys to frame, and then you get nice 16:9 video from every caller. And then Live Call Connect would say, oh, hey, everyone's 16:9. I'm going to draw that for our setups. So those tutorials are built in there. And then I would say every piece of content we've released in the last month is like, not even 6 degrees. It's like 1 degree away from the TC2 Elite. So look to our content that we've been releasing on NewTek TV and our YouTube channel, because like we're constantly putting out cool workflows and information about it.
Awesome. Interesting question for Frank, which is going to be for the whole panel, and I think we'll probably start with John. In your opinion, has COVID forever changed teleproduction workflows? Is this going to be the new normal, even after COVID is no longer with us?
I think so. I think certain for certain types of productions, the people that are putting them together and producing them are seeing certain efficiencies from this new type of workflow, and they've, as they've been evolving, they're able to see, as Kathleen pointed out, that using some of these new technologies, they're able to do as much as they used to do within a traditional control room. So, I think that maybe not every type of production is going to adapt this as a new normal, but I think for a number of, I keep thinking about daytime talk shows, and even some of the late night talk shows seem to have adapted quite well to this format and seem to be pretty comfortable with it. I think that the biggest complaint that I've heard anecdotally is, I don't have an audience in front of me anymore, so I don't have a live reaction. But from the economies of production, I think a lot of people are going to stick with this.
Anyone else want to take a stab at that one?
I think we're setting the bar low. I think to say this is the new normal is, I would say no. I think we have to. It's going to push further. These workflows are more than just live broadcast. Every teacher across the country globally is now trying to reach their students with some kind of remote setup workflow. And as my focus in respect to things that I'm tuned into, things like game streaming, the whole Twitch economy, like the bar was set really low because no one was really pushing on it too hard. And we're in this new environment where this is going to only advance. I think right now we're looking at definitively the beginnings of this new transition, where for a while lots of people were streaming their content, so you had live stream setups, but now we're looking at adding all this interactivity. So we're kind of at the beginning of this, and not just from a global perspective, but just for like ideology. There are a lot of ways to enhance this stuff, enhance interactivity. And so, I don't want to seem like the negative side in this, and I do have a little bit of a younger perspective, but in my opinion, it's going to grow more. There should be more interactivity between devices. I look at, I have a lot of friends in teaching right now, and the struggles they're trying to overcome and that level of engagement. The culture is shifting with that. Parents can be more involved in those lives, and that like, if that's the base of something that's going to be happening routinely, well, we're going to want all of our content to be in that perspective. If my child can learn in this capacity, why can't I have better access to these shows that I watch? Something like a daytime TV show, where I think Good Day New York was running like a Twitter feed like once a day or something like that, where they go and pull the most popular tweet up. Well, there's more opportunity to get that level of interaction. Whether that suits the show or not, I don't know. And I certainly don't want everything to become like digital Howard Stern. I do think that there's going to be this push towards more and more interactivity, and it has changed. Ever going back is going to be only for those small elite where it needs to. But I think this will be a big comfort for a lot of people.
I agree. I think I really think that the technology has given us a lot of freedom that's in a lot of environments, and I also think that the quality is catching up. I mean, I love that we're able to stream 1080, and I mean, I used to be a post supervisor, and I would sit there and online, and you do painstakingly color correct something, and you get it looking beautiful, and then you watch it on the air, and it's compressed, and you're just like, why was I up all night? So, but now we're sending out this really great crisp signal, and it's also what the viewer's internet is able to receive. So there's those limitations as well. And I would like, we have an interactive platform on the Dark Zone, and I think that there's a lot more opportunity there to go down. I mean, that really is a big part of our business model, but I do think the technology is going to help us get there. But I think there's improvements that can be made just to, eventually when we're not all stuck at home, we can all get out of our chairs and start, doing something. So the programming doesn't feel so static, but I think the technology is taking us down a really great path.
Yeah, I would kind of concur with the panel at this point. I would say there are definitely going to be places, large large sets, things where you need a large on-site production that may not quite change yet. Obviously, with the advent of 5G coming in, we're going to have faster internet even to be able to better signals and things like that. There'll be a segment of the market that changes, more permanently. I'm always a little hesitant to extrapolate out disruptive trends into infinity, on that side, because this obviously was a response. But if there's any silver lining, I guess, to kind of what we're going through with the pandemic, is it's forced us to reevaluate the way we do things. This technology has been here, but it wasn't necessarily forced to be adopted. It was still, expensive, or it was a change. And it was one of those, if it ain't broke, why do I need to fix it kind of thing? Well, COVID broke everything. So now we've had to find new and innovative ways to do it. And it's always exciting. Whatever causes the change, tragic as it may be, is always a chance for growth and a chance to find new and creative ways to do things, which is why we're all in this industry to begin with, is to find crazy problems and, find solutions to them. So it's exciting.
It proves you can teach an old dog new tricks.
only if the dog has to know, has to learn, right?
Well, and I agree with everybody here, and I think it's interesting. I mean, you got the baby boomers like, myself, who, maybe got forced to do things a little bit differently. You got the folks in Chris's generation that want to do things differently. So you got the forced to, you got the want to, whatever. And I think what COVID did was it, put us all in a situation where, we had to be there for one reason or the other. And, a lot of our broadcasters have been doing it now for a while, and the cost savings are significant. So I think the reasons are going to be different for different people. It's going to be cost savings for some people. It's going to be new revenue for other people, like the things that Kathleen is doing. I mean, whoever thought about going out onto the Queen Mary and doing what she's going to do here in about, 3 weeks, and think about it, right? I mean, we are 2 or 3 months away from the first fully integrated LU 800 with 5G. Now, I realize 5G infrastructure is going to take a while, but it's going to slowly but surely start to be out there. It's, first going to be out there in small pockets with baseball stadiums and metropolitan areas and things like that. But it's the direction that it's going. I agree with Chris. We haven't seen the new normal yet. This is just the beginning of where this is all going. And we're obviously right there with teaming with AT&T and T-Mobile and Verizon and all that to bring all of the the technology pieces that we need to do to get the stuff from the field. So
one of our industry loves to do, as soon as we get that, Scott, we're gonna release 8K. So what do you mean we can't fill that pipe? We're gonna fill that pipe. Don't you worry. So yeah.
Well, but HD HDR is coming, right? So HD HDR is 10-bit HD HDR is arguably better than 4K. So and I think that it's a format that is more easily adaptable to an infrastructure that we have. So the video quality is going to get better. The transport mechanisms are going to get more prevalent, and we're all going to have nice businesses. So we're going to keep investing into this, as we go forward and making it better and better.
Yeah, the best allegory I guess I could come up with would be kind of what streaming did to distribution, is where we're at with now the convergence of the IT network and OTT being in place for what's going to happen now to live production. So it's very much, Netflix circa 2008, I guess, is where I kind of feel like we're at. And in 10 years, we're all going to be amazed at what we can do. So.
I mean, it's also allowed us to in a much more easy way, tell the stories we've always wanted to tell. Mm-hmm. And, we've been familiar with direct to consumer. And a lot of what Kathleen's doing is getting the consumer interactively involved with that. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason why schools can't be direct to student. And there's no reason why local governments can't be direct to citizen. We're able to engage with audiences in a much different way than we've been able to do in the past, because we've been focused on new ways to take old versions of what we used to do and revitalize them into something new. If it wasn't for COVID, I mean, people would be going to the Queen Mary Live, and you wouldn't have the ability to have this particular type of experience, which means that someone in Arkansas can attend, or someone from Georgia can drop by and see the same things that normally you'd have to come out to California, hang out in Long Beach, and do. Not to say that the weather isn't good, but
Right, and we're even giving them access to rooms that they wouldn't normally have access to because we have the whole ship. So, even if you take the 2-hour tour and you spend $40 for the 2-hour tour, we're giving them access to places that they couldn't get in that tour. And our show is only $20, so it's a bargain.
And you're breaking physics. They can be in multiple places at the same time. There's a camera everywhere. It's something we haven't been able to do. Oh, it happened in the other room. It's okay. I got the feed of the other room. That's amazing.
Check this out, right? This is LiveU Smart. This is a phone. So any iOS or Android device, and think about the images that are coming off like an iPhone 11. And so literally with a touch of a button, people can be pulled into a production off of this device. A CEO can do it. And I know they're smart, but they typically don't want to be bothered with technology or time or whatever it is. I mean, if any of you watched the NFL draft, Roger Goodell was at his home with an LU600, a nice camera, and basically a remote studio, right? So they had to put a little bit of time into that. But Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa and the rest of those guys and all those general managers, they were coming into that production on this device. So it's definitely going in this direction, and we're just going to keep making more and more tools to make it easier and better.
And we used the LiveU Smart on our last show, and we're going to do it at the Queen Mary also because the investigators, they like their POV camera, and it gives us another look, which I love. But then it's also when the ghost drained all the batteries at Lizzie Bordenhouse on the LiveU, whoop, we were back on the air in seconds with the LiveU Smart. They just, everybody has pre-programmed the app, and we were back up in seconds with that using the LiveU Smart. It's awesome. So it's a great tool in addition to being a really awesome picture.
For NewTek, is there a software upgrade that will bring some, if not all, of the features of the TC2 to the TC1?
No. The Live Call Connect feature that we're talking about is part of I think this is what we're referencing. Premium access is part of TC1, so you can get that. The distinct number of outputs it has and inputs, that's some of the features are just built into the architecture. So as awesome as software updates are, we can't change the capacities of what the TC1's doing in that respect. So I think the major things we're looking at for TC2 Elite are not coming to TC1. General NDI improvements are always coming to TC1, and everything we do for the software overall is always going to be coming. But some of that stuff is specific to TC2 Elite for now.
Awesome. This is actually more sort of a question for everybody. What about the budget for production, remote streaming? Are you including transmitters and cameras? How can it be monetized in sports? Can there be a payment system during live streaming?
Are we talking kind of about the traditional pay-per-view model there, Jeff? It sounds like that's what Kathleen has set up. It's just $20. It's awesome. I'll certainly be watching it.
I'm giving a coupon. I forgot to mention it. Maybe we can put it out to the audience later as a coupon code for $2 off for key code. With key code is the promo code, so you only have to pay $18 now.
Go.
I'm excited to see it. I'm going to run it through my Hue Play, so all my lights change as you change room to room for a Halloween party. Now that'll be fun.
You can also watch it on Roku and Apple TV, so that's kind of
that's cool.
You're going to have to accommodate for some of these new costs, right? And I think monetization is going to be. There's a lot of ways we could look at this. Let's look at the last 4 years of different guys trying this stuff out. Rising streaming platforms. Specific content, you look at things like WWE Network or what MLB was doing. Those guys were basically doing the monthly subscription, right? So they invested a lot in infrastructure. That was their path. For the medium to small guys out there and those productions, I think you got to choose pick and choose your battles. I think having some sponsorship the way we traditionally do it, That's important. And there's lots of things you can sponsor now, right? You could sponsor in like Kathleen set up, someone could sponsor the hand cam, like the phone cam stuff. And now we can say, hey, look,
each room.
Yeah, you can go those pathways. I think you got to build this in two pathways. I think you should always be looking at making sure you maintain some kind of free content, because that's going to get people to be just sort of aware of what you guys are promoting or doing, or how you guys showcase. And we are now in the world of niche content so much more. There's, every angle on every piece of content ever is available via some streaming service. And you want to make sure that you're carving out your own lane and then giving some value. I look at a company like GiantBomb.com, which is a game review website, which wouldn't have probably been anywhere if they didn't switch to a membership model where membership gain access to live streams that they're doing during the day. So their post content is free, but if you want to watch them doing something live, well, that's this angle. Or I think it's something like Twitch where, the viewership is free, but if you want to be a part of my premium viewer channel where you can chat with me, well, that's a paid tier. And there's lots of different angles for this stuff. And if I look at something like live sports, definitely monetizing every aspect of the production as possible. Just like we were doing forward impact replays in football, like all that stuff is still possible. We just got to make sure that we're accommodating for, hey, we got this new pieces of gear, and it is something like LiveU I've worked with in the past. It's like, this is our guarantee. And we want to make sure we're covering this stuff, but we can still have our same advertisers involved as usual.
Yeah, I agree completely, Chris. If anything, all the traditional monetization paths are there. There's just more of them now. There are more feeds. There are more angles. You could do, much like the NFL does. There's still product placement. In fact, one of the really neat things that the NRS includes is that hook to artificial intelligence services through Amazon or through Azure. So even as that feed records, comes back, that can go be sent off now for optical character recognition, where you're looking for your sponsor's logo. You were on screen for 18 seconds. You owe me X amount of money. You got this many impressions, and you can, you'd be able to negotiate almost like a per click per second of visualization of the product logo or something like that. So I think it's really, if anything, there's just more chances to really monetize that content from different perspectives and different channels.
If I were to put my future hat on for 1 second, looking towards the future on this, right now when we think of traditional broadcasts, we think of something like the Olympics, something that's going global, truly global. Every market's getting involved with it. We have to make very tailored broadcasts. We have to have translation, we have to have announcing, we have to have advertising, and all that happens very directly. And traditionally, we'd have multiple trucks rolled out, in the old days. This, as we continue to get data and feedback, because there's this whole networking thing happening in the background, we can know where people are. And this is something I've always thought of. Why do I need to do all of that as one giant, like multiple trucks, when I can just say, hey, we're going to push our ad content somewhere here in the cloud. And then if I know you're in this market, I will market to you appropriately. So if I know your household is in a predominantly Spanish-speaking neighborhood, but we're in the United States where, it could be in the Bronx, or like it might make more sense for this to be in Spanish than to be in English. Well, maybe that's the commentary, maybe that's the subtitle track, maybe that's the advertisements. That stuff doesn't have to be as hands-on as it once was. And this is where I'm thinking of like the future of these levels of engagement. So like the monetization is going to get, the potential for this stuff to get much better is better than ever, because now you have there's so much data. Like, where this stuff is going, where that viewership is. And so maybe you're really popular in, Russia and you didn't know that. Well, maybe it's time to start listening to some Russian advertisers, because you get that feedback and data that you weren't able to necessarily do before.
Well, yeah, even the targeted advertising. Go ahead, Kathleen. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that we saw in our one of our previous events that there's a very large fan base in Spanish-speaking countries for the paranormal, and because it is reaches a worldwide audience. So in this broadcast, we have Spanish subtitles, and so also because on Sunday is the Day of the Dead celebration, and which is celebrating, it's a Mexican celebration of people who've passed, and it really finishes our whole broadcast off with a positive message of celebrating the people who have passed. But the Spanish subtitles are offering that really opens the door to a huge audience.
Yeah, I can even see a world where it's potentially you have all these different angles set up, each one with a different, primary sponsor with a logo behind it. And based on the IP address of the person watching, what they're going to be most interested in, and it's going to kick them to the appropriate feed. So, I mean, you could bring targeted the same way Google does Google AdWords and, Google campaigns, to just tying it to a specific camera angle to maximize the return there, to be able to click on the feed through an interactivity, thing. I'm going to click on that Gatorade logo at NFL, and I'm going to be able to go buy my Gatorade from Sam's Club or Amazon and have it delivered to me in a day and a half. Like, no, I want the green one. It just got dumped on my coach at the end of the Super Bowl, or something like that. So
are you saying that you and Chris are going to sponsor my event and put your logos on one of the channels, like a little NewTek logo, a little SNS, a LiveU? I'm working on Sheehan. I'll get him to sponsor it.
The other thing that's interesting here in sports is because we've been able to lower the latency without delay, that allows you to have wagering. That was one of the core problems with OTT delivered sports previously. You could actually make money on the delay. So with that out of the picture, gambling, it's a definite source of revenue for all sorts of stuff.
Well, that'll be interesting. We're going to have like a 50-50 run pass. What do they do? Oh, well, how it gets used is up to the people, I guess. But I can see some craziness going on there.
Exactly. So a couple questions that I think either Chris or John can answer. They're kind of LiveU centric, but they're with the integration because Scott had to drop. Can I use my LiveU Solo to come into my control room and feed into my TriCaster and stream from there? And then, what was the other question? I accidentally deleted the other question, but basically integration of LiveU into not only TriCaster, but then how it can integrate into NRS.
Well, we've already we've been working on a project where we were using LiveU for one of the talk shows that we were supporting, and unfortunately, that's what spurred my comment earlier about cellular service, because one of the hosts of the show has decided to move to what I would call the exurbs, and the cellular service there, was not ideal. But for the other hosts and the other applications that we've done, integrating LiveU into a TriCaster environment is no more difficult than incorporating it into a traditional SDI environment. It works very, very well.
I've been touching TriCasters for close to 10 years. I would say 8 of those I've interacted with TriCasters and LiveUs together. That's a good peanut butter and jelly mix for any kind of live event, specifically sports. I was doing a lot of stuff with that. So those things working together is well-worn territory, and they are very often in conjunction seen. I think I have an old picture of me on Facebook, which is now like 7 years old, one of the old backpacks strapped on. I was doing an event with a bike racing tour, and so they had it on the motorcycle going through. So there's a long history with those two products in general working together, and I'm sure there's specific applications which you're looking for. And then I'll toss over to Steve, what's the ceiling on, obviously once you get an NDI, it's just probably been in the NRS. Like at this point, you should be going that route anyway, but have you seen anything thus far?
Yeah, I've seen quite a few where we're doing LiveU backpacks for B-roll at concerts, where the main mix screen behind the artist is just playing out a program feed that's maybe pre-recorded, but we're also capturing behind the scenes footage for stuff just from LiveU and things like that. And to the NRS, and again, it's really important here to really delineate this. If you want NDI functionality on an SNS server, you buy the NewTek remote server. And it's challenging because we think of it as this traditional kind of storage piece, right? Where it's like, okay, it's a place to dump stuff, but it's not. It records with its own processors. So in some respects, from a traditional broadcast, and I'll let John correct my nomenclature here if he wants to, it's an encoder. NDI is kind of already encoded. We're just grabbing it kind of like you would a baseband signal through an encoder or recorder. and it's coming right onto the server, and it really expands if you have just a single switcher, the number of sources that you can capture, or if you have multiple switchers, to be able to actually use that as a central point from all these disparate devices, whether that be a LiveU camera, backpack, modem, receiver, sender, whether that be a switcher, whether that just be a PTZ camera somewhere, that now, not even in a control room, I can just log in to the admin utility of my server and initiate a record. I can just say go. And then I can even apply custom metadata tags, where, Kathleen, in your use case here, it'd be cool that as the file's recording, we could throw a tag on, the consumer of this video saw this thing in this room at this timestamp. I mean, we can even timestamp it as it comes in. So, I mean, you can get all sorts of things that'll be cool to review later and kind of get a report on what was going on live for the post team, who are always kind of the forgotten, people on the other side. As a former editor, it's always the last thing you want to hear from the production crew is let's fix it in post. That's my side of it. No,
I think one of the other things that allows you to do now, you can take shooting what we always called film style into the NDI world. Like for instance, as an example, the Late Show is shot film style, and they're ISO recording. Well, pre-pandemic, they shooting film style, and they're recording all of the camera feeds and a program feed. But then in post, they're able to cut in the ISOs where they see appropriate. Well, now you can do that in the NDI world, because you're sitting at the TriCaster and you're switching your show. At the same time, you're recording those cameras as they're coming in. So if your program, if the program that you've switched doesn't look quite right, or you have, that guest had a really interesting reaction on that camera, but we didn't catch it while we were switching it. Well, now you can go back into editing and say, okay, now let's grab that clip of that guy making that funny face and edit it. So, I mean, that's a huge step forward.
Or for real time, real-time disagreements with the producer and the TD.
Yeah, and then
I want that angle.
The other piece there is you can record this, the multi-view of, okay, what is the TD? What were they trying to accomplish there? Oh, that that triple squeeze back didn't quite work well for them because something happened in the control room during live. We can go back and recreate that, for the feed later. And that's a piece that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise.
Yeah, when we got to do the melt after the show or something, you can kind of see it and that was the cut point. So it almost becomes kind of a master track, so to speak. That would be an overlay that maybe from an editorial perspective gives you some more detail than you would otherwise have. So you might not be having to do a multicam edit quite as often, because you would just know which feed to grab and things like that, which would save overall network bandwidth. So we can, again, kind of do more with less, and things like that. And then with the transcode engine built into the NRS, if you want to prep a YouTube deliverable simultaneously to a broadcast deliverable and just let your central point do it all for you and not tie up any workstations, you can do so. So yeah, it's really about efficiency. And someone had to go, work on different major sporting events and things. Not having to work as late into the night is super appealing to me. There's not a lot of love for those people who are stuck till midnight, 3 a.m. to get that highlight package onto the air for everybody to consume.
One thing I wanted to add, because the question earlier was about the LiveU Solo and coming into the TriCaster, is that it doesn't come in the traditional workflow through like the LiVU 2000, but I discovered a little workaround, which is cool, because with the Solo, you just put a stream key in, but if you use, it's called SRT mini server and RTMP mini server. It's an online system, and you bring that into your computer that has NDI, and that's how you can get that as a source onto the TriCaster. So we were able to use the Solo in our show in different ways, and that was a tip that somebody gave me. I want to pass along, so it's a great workaround.
Chris, I think you need to get Kathleen doing all your installs now. She's got it nailed.
No, you if you wanted to dive deep into the NDI pool, the answer inevitably ends up being yes. Like, can NDI do this? I think I don't want to tie up this question with some information on that. But like Steve earlier brought up, like 8K, they're going to do 8K. It's like, yeah, we could do 8K to NDI already. Like it's what we push on the NDI platform and some of the stuff that we're taking advantage of that we were discussing, like with the syncing of the recordings now happening in NDI, like NDI doing the stamping based on the network. That came in recently. I think that's part of the 4 and the 4.5 updates. And like, that's why we keep putting more stuff into that NDI protocol, not because it's going to sell another system, but because all these different companies are now getting involved with it. And so everyone will benefit from some little piece down the road, whether it's an end user or whether it's one of our third-party supporters, or whether it's us. Like, we're all gaining these benefits and doing this stuff. And so we always kind of push the envelope on that.
Well, I think that's what's so cool, Chris, about NDI and really the convergence of the technology onto like the traditional IT or IP network, TCP/IP protocol kind of thing, is that there's a lot less time on the broadcast world now that has to go to keeping up with hardware. Where, there's a new version of SDI, we got to go test that, we got to go deal with this. The infrastructure is going to remain. It's going to be Ethernet or fiber optic cable or cellular or whatever. The protocols there are now much more standardized without having to go build out a separate infrastructure. I'm going to naturally update my IT network, whereas it might have taken a little longer to get the budget to update my broadcast network. It's like, we're fine on 3G. It's like, yeah, but there's 12G. I want 12G. It's like, yeah, but we got a lot. So now, just by virtue of IT doing their thing and converging those budgets, the video teams and the broadcast teams are really going to be able to take advantage of those upgrades that are happening anyway, for other reasons. And that's super exciting. It's one less person to have to convince that your project is the most important project, on that side.
No, my project is the most important project.
Kathleen's project.
You've been paying attention.
Cool.
I'd be the center of the world.
Wait a minute, didn't Jeff say I was in the middle screen? We got to get Kathleen in the middle square.
No, you're kind of off to the right-hand side now.
Oh, can we do Hollywood Squares? I'll take Chris for the block.
No, we don't even have enough squares for that right now.
Oh, man.
It's one of those things. So we've kind of gone over our time slot for today. So my apologies to Matt Damon. We're not going to be able to get to you. So we're going to close out for our live audience. Thanks everybody for joining us today. If you've got questions about any of these products, please don't hesitate to reach out to us here at KeyCode. Thanks to Chris and Kathleen and Scott and John and Steve for making the time to join us here today on the air, and hope you have a great week.
Thank you, KeyCode. Thanks for hosting, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks everyone.
Appreciate it.
Nice to see everybody.